I'm getting pretty sick of protesters. For the record, I had a pretty awful dream last night. I dreamt that the protesters were actually pretty fucking scary. Time to get some shut-eye.
Donald J. Trump is now President of the United States. President Obama.
I know that the threat of these protesters is no more legitimate than the boogeyman. It's just the violent protesters that really irk me, especially under the circumstances, and frankly some of the things they're destroying are the things that they claim to stand for. I don't know if you've ever heard of Milo Yiannopoulos, but he is a British white gay man with a black boyfriend. And he does a lot of appearances at colleges. He speaks, and he's more of a conservative type. Don't want to call him a conservative. He might not like being called that. I don't know. But he's an actually interesting character, and you should probably look him up. Anyway, so he's actually going to Berkeley to speak, ironically, about free speech. And a lot of liberal protesters started destroying the place and wound up, shutting it down. So then they blocked Milo from his free speech. Most of these cats will swear up and down that the freedom of speech is their #1 priority, unless they don't agree with you. It's funny, while we're on the subject of Berkeley, I guess it was around 50 years ago, they had a little issue there, and Ronald Reagan had something to say about it.
At Berkeley, there was a plot of land that had been taken by protesters. The university owned it. They were trying to turn it into a parking lot. The protesters claimed it as a park for the people.
Reagan's chief of staff sends reinforcements to the scene. He tells them to use whatever methods they choose against the protesters. Not long after, police start firing buckshot and tear gas. One student is killed, and an estimated 128 people are admitted to local hospitals. Reagan declares a state of emergency and sends in the National Guard.
Those people told you for days in advance that if the university sought to go ahead with that construction, they were going to physically destroy the university. Now, why did you
negotiate many times?
Negotiate? What is to negotiate? What is?
Well, the university is a public institution.
That's right. But the university,
for its own community and for the community of Berkeley that live around it.
All of it began the first time some of you who know better and are old enough to know better let young people think that they had the right to choose the laws they would obey as long as they were doing it in the name of social protest.
Sounds awfully familiar. People protesting things they have no right to control. The only difference being we're not tear gassing these bastards. And I'm just going to point out that these were liberal protesters. Not to mention the building that they did all the damage to was dedicated to civil rights. Who would have thought there were so many xenophobic, racist, homophobic liberals in Berkeley? These people are their own worst enemy. And yes, there are still a few good people in the Democratic Party, and what they should do is tell these people to get the hell out of the way.